But the Lord would say this, you want to come after me? My expectations haven't changed. You're going to have to deny yourself. Is it fun? Man, it's not fun some days, is it? But it's the right thing to do. So we deny ourselves. Here's the second expectation that the Lord gives us. Not only do we deny ourselves, he says this, I need you to take up your cross. Take up your cross. This is probably one of the most overspoken, overplayed, and just maybe a little bit offensive sayings to the Lord sometimes. He says, take up my cross, just my cross to bear, just my cross to bear. I had to park all the way in the back at Walmart. It's just my cross to bear. Had a bad hair day, just my cross to bear. I don't get to bear those crosses, by the way, of bad hair days. It's just my cross. That's not what Jesus was talking about when he's talking about bearing his cross. He speaks of it in Mark chapter 8. Look at verse 34 again. Calls the crowd to him with his disciples. Says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross. You got to know that when Jesus is speaking this, he's speaking words very purposefully. So he says, number one, deny yourself. Number two, take up your cross. Now this is tied really closely with the whole idea of us denying ourselves. And there's several scholars that have varying opinions on what it means to take up your cross. But Jesus actually speaks about this earlier in verse 31 when he speaks of taking up his cross, when he tells his disciples that the crucifixion is coming. Look at verse 31. He, that's Jesus, began to teach them that the Son of Man, that's Jesus again, must, look at this, suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the teachers of the law. And he must be killed after 3 days. When Jesus took the cross, what was he talking about? When we talked about taking up the cross, what was he talking about? I think he was talking about taking up the cross. So how did Jesus take up the cross? Think about, I had a picture that we were going to show, but I know we have audiences of varying ages, and so I didn't want it to be too disturbing and gruesome, to be honest with you. And so you can use your imagination, but you've seen pictures of our Jesus who's gone through this beating and this scourging and is bleeding now, and he's taking what we call the Via Dolorosa. He's going on the road to Calvary, and they make him carry his cross, the beam that he will be crucified on. They make him carry it. And so Jesus is referencing this, just as he took up the cross, that we are to take up the cross. So taking up the cross is this. Taking up the cross is a complete focus on your mission, no matter what it costs. When Jesus says that he's taking up his cross, what he's saying is, I'm taking up my cross, and it's painful, but it's okay because it's part of the mission. Taking up the cross speaks to mission, his mission of forgiveness, the forgiveness of our sins. And there was a high cost in that, wasn't there? It cost him emotionally and relationally and physically and mentally and spiritually. He poured himself out. So the cross, carrying the cross, has to do with the mission. And just because it's painful or inconvenient doesn't mean that we shrink back from the mission. Jesus had a mission in Luke 19 that said this: the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Knowing that it would be painful, he walked through the Garden of Gethsemane. Knowing that it would be brutal, he took the cross on our behalf. He took up the cross. He bared the cross, and it was part of his mission. And then he tells us what our mission is. In Matthew 28:19, he says this: therefore go and make disciples. Therefore go and make the thing. You're like, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to be disciples. Right, here's how God works. He says, if you're going to be my disciple, then your mission is to make disciples. If you're going to be my follower, then your mission is to make followers. See, our mission isn't just to get through the next few months or the next few days or this week. Our mission is actually to make disciples, and disciples make disciples. And look, it's going to cost. Nobody said that it was going to be easy. And we live in one of the easiest countries in the world to follow Jesus. And now we're under some hardship. And it's okay. It's okay. You're going to have to sacrifice for the mission.